What's up, guys? It's Rob here, and today we've got some very exciting news, some very impactful news for some of our favorite stocks. All right, we've got to talk about Sundial, of course. There is massive news out there for Sundial. There's huge stuff happening for the whole cannabis space. But you know what's interesting with Sundial? It actually includes one of what people consider to be the most notorious politicians out there, Nancy Pelosi. Someone who's often thought of as being a pretty good stock trader, apparently, right? Apparently, Nancy Pelosi ends up making some pretty good buys. She likes to buy options as well as stocks, and she has been buying Sundial stock big, all right? She's been buying Sundial stock big, and we just found out about this in a leak from one of Hillary Clinton's emails. So, all in all, obviously, guys, I can't even keep going with that. I can't keep going with that. That's an April Fool's joke. I'm curious who believed it. If you believe that, let me know in the comments down below. Obviously, that's a joke. I couldn't even keep it going for a full minute, right? We're only at 58 seconds right now. I couldn't keep it going for a full minute. I don't want anyone to click off the video before I reveal that it's a joke and think that that's real. Obviously, Nancy Pelosi is not buying Sundial stock. Not yet, at least. But sadly, it's the kind of thing that we've come to expect might happen, right? So not only is Nancy Pelosi not buying Sundial stock, we've actually got some real Sundial stock news, some real cannabis stock news. There's some good stuff going on in the House where Nancy Pelosi actually spends a lot of her time. So we are going to talk about that, right? But before we talk about the good news for Sundial stock, we are also going to mention just that it's a little sad that, a lot of people may have actually been believing what I was saying for the first, 45 seconds of this video. A lot of people, sadly, may actually have believed it because it is not uncommon for members of Congress, members of the House and the Senate, to be trading stocks and to actually outperform the markets and to do it by pretty incredible margins. I mean, look at this, guys. Congress and top Capitol Hill staff have violated the Stock Act hundreds of times, right? That's a story reported in 2021, late 2021, and it's unfortunately something that people have come to expect, right? Politicians, not going to name names. We've already talked about Nancy Pelosi in jest, but politicians are out there, and unfortunately, people just come to expect the fact that politicians are going to take advantage of their position. They're going to act in somewhat corrupt ways. They're going to trade stocks that they have potentially insider information on. So unfortunately, that's something we've come to expect. While I haven't actually seen too many politicians buying cannabis stocks yet, the Stock Act only requires that they report their buys within 45 days of when they actually buy the stock. And obviously, according to that story at least, politicians have been buying up cannabis stock or have been buying up stocks and not reporting it from time to time, oftentimes, actually hundreds of times, according to that article. And there are very few penalties for that, right? Very few punishments, inconsistent punishments, right? So sadly, politicians are probably engaging in that kind of stuff. It's going to be very interesting to see and look back on in a year from now who was buying up cannabis stocks in the House, who was buying them up in the Senate, right? Are politicians actually engaging in these kind of sketchy buying activities, right? Are they actually buying up these stocks that may be going through a huge pump cycle sometime soon, since we did actually get real news, right? Real big news that cannabis stocks are going to thoroughly enjoy, right? This just happened today. The House has passed landmark cannabis legalization bill. So that's what just happened, right? We just got this today, Friday, April 1st, April Fool's Day. It almost seems like a joke, but it's not. This is for real, right? Nancy Pelosi was a joke, but this is for real. The House really did pass a cannabis legalization bill. Now, it still has to get through the Senate, and if you actually look at a lot of these cannabis stocks, we'll look at Sundial, it's only up 2.3%, so it's not actually up all that much. If you look at another stock like CLVR, it's only up about 3.5%. So a lot of these stocks aren't actually soaring as you might expect when you hear that the House just passed cannabis legalization. And one of the reasons why that is because a lot of people don't expect this bill to get through the Senate, right? A lot of the institutions don't think this bill is going to get through the Senate. And while it's not a guarantee that this bill is going to get through the Senate, right? It's not guaranteed that this bill, the MORE Act, is going to get through. It seems incredibly likely that something will be getting through at some point in the next several months, right? Chuck Schumer, if he can't get this thing through, he's got his own legislation that he wants to introduce at some point in April, or now they're saying this spring. So at some point soon, hopefully we'll see what Chuck Schumer has to offer in regards to cannabis legalization. Nancy Mace, a Republican, is also proposing cannabis legalization. She has her own bill in the House. And there are companies such as Amazon that are also endorsing not just the MORE Act, which just passed, the cannabis legalization bill that just passed the House. They're also endorsing Nancy Mace's States Reforms Act, And they've said that they want to help lead the charge with cannabis legalization. And when some of the biggest companies like Amazon are starting to get involved, it's all in all looking like a really good situation. Now, unfortunately, retail traders like you and I, well, you and I, obviously, if you're watching this video, you're probably in on it pretty early. If you're looking back at the Sundial stock chart over the past year or so, you'll notice that, Sundial has been trading pretty low. And anyone who's been watching the videos for more than about a week or two has obviously had the opportunity to buy Sundial even below 50 cents per share. Now it's at 71. So you guys have had ample opportunity to be buying up Sundial stock, as have politicians, right? Politicians have probably had the opportunity to be buying up Sundial stock as well. And if you actually take a look at this, it would not surprise me in the slightest to hear in a year from now to have a bunch of stories being written once we finally get cannabis legalization passing, to have a bunch of stories being written about this kind of situation right here, where members of Congress end up beating the markets massively. And some of them will probably have done it because they'll have invested in cannabis stocks, right? It seems almost like it would be too blatant, but I really wouldn't put it past these members of Congress, right? You can see this list at the very bottom is this gray bar right here. This is the S&P's performance over the course of 2021, ranked against all of these politicians who beat this. Now, this study came out a while ago thanks to Unusual Whales. And they're the ones who compiled this information and found it all and put this report together and showed just by how much all of these politicians have been beating the market, right? This is the S&P. In a year that the S&P, if you look, actually did fairly well in 2021. You'll take a look at this, we ended over the course of 2021, you can see we moved pretty significantly from about 375 all the way to 475. So about a 26% gain, it looks like, in the S&P. Pretty incredible stuff. And still, a bunch of members of Congress were able to beat it. And it would not surprise me in the slightest to see that potentially some members of Congress are going to be buying up some cannabis stocks over the next couple of weeks. Maybe they've already done it. Obviously, we're going to have to wait a while for them to actually make those reports, and some of them might even make the reports late. It's probably not going to be a very popular move on their parts, right? A lot of people might not be too fond of the idea that these politicians are buying up a bunch of stocks and then passing legislation that's going to pump the stocks. But that's just how the game is played, unfortunately. That's how they do it in Congress. And, my expectation is that a lot of these politicians are probably going to continue beating the market for a long time to come, right? Because they really are the ones who are in power. They're the ones who are in control. And if they have the opportunity to buy up stocks and then make laws that benefit those stocks, well, they may as well do it. Now, we don't yet have any reports of politicians buying up Sundial or Tilray. We have some very minor reports that came out in 2021. Some politicians were buying up a little bit, but we don't have any major signs that thousands of or that hundreds of politicians are buying up tons of shares of these cannabis stocks. But obviously, they have some time to disclose that. They have 45 days, according to the Stocks Act. And oftentimes, they disregard the Stocks Act and decide not to report their buys even after the time that they're meant to report them in has elapsed. So we're going to see what goes on with that. Hopefully, there are some gains for retail out there, specifically in Sundial stock and some of the other stocks that we've got. We do have some interesting stuff going on with Sundial, although it's not pumping up today. It's not necessarily a bad thing. We have more time going into this, right? We have more chances for Sundial to pump just because we're not pumping today. This unfortunately is a little bit underreported right here. It's not really making the biggest headlines, right? If I wasn't actually searching for this, I probably wouldn't have heard about it. It would not have crossed my eyes if I wasn't actually searching for this cannabis legalization. And obviously, this is just the first step. It's just in the House. We need the Senate and the president as well to approve of this. And that's obviously going to take some time, right? It's not the kind of thing that's going to happen in a week and probably not even in a month. My guess is this is probably something that we're going to be looking at the next couple of months. But all in all, that is very exciting, especially for cannabis stockholders, because that means you have a couple of months for all of these catalysts to play out. And it's a lot easier for a stock to run up big over the course of a couple of months than in a couple of days, right? There's a lot more time for people to hear about the stock, a lot more time for people to be exposed to it and to think about buying into it, and for FOMO to really set in and get people buying these stocks up. Now, the key is obviously not getting drawn into the FOMO it's buying before the FOMO starts hitting people, right? So that's not financial advice. I'm not recommending anyone do that. That's just my opinion on the whole situation with these cannabis stocks, right? I'm a big bull on them. If you guys are curious about what cannabis stocks I've been buying, you can actually check that out in the top link in the description. I think I have a post on the locals community. If anyone wants to check that out, feel free. I'll probably be posting something about it today. I think I did actually post something about a new cannabis stock that I bought even today. So feel free to check that out. Top link in the description. If anyone wants, feel free to visit that. Other than that, guys, feel free to subscribe to the channel. Keep in mind, none of this is financial advice. I'm just letting you guys know some of the news, some of the catalysts, and letting you in on an April Fool's joke for the first 45 seconds of this video. So other than that, guys, have a great day. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.